Afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a good Wednesday. Just give me a moment while I make sure we are live on the Instagram channels for this live stream. Just takes a minute. I can never start this before I start the live stream. There's one, and there's the other. So we are good to go. At the moment, every day, I wasn't going to do this today, but I had a conversation today with an agent, a really good agent I've known for a really long time. And he said something that really underlined for me the importance of what BestAgent's mission to end overvaluing and with it bad estate agency. So at the moment, I'm promoting Best Agent Day on September the 4th to agents. There's a link below if you haven't got your free registration for that event. Make sure you come along. It's all about how ending overvaluing will double transactions. And I had that conversation today, and that reminded me about the fact that I've been talking about Dextons and Foxters, my two fictional overvaluing London estate agency brands. Actually, I come up with logos for them just for fun, so I can do this on X, right? So here is my. This is probably going to get me into trouble, but here is my my Dextons logo. And Dextons are, here are their values for my fictional agency. No valuation too high, no sole agency contract too long, no referral commission too big. And then, hang on, where is it? Then we came up with Foxters as well. So this is Foxters. I've got a choice of logos for Foxters. And Foxters have a completely different set of values, right? Their values are that the highest overvaluation of your home is guaranteed, and the longest sole agency contract of any agent shows their commitment to how long they won't sell your home for, and a couple more of that. So if you want to see those, follow me on X. It's Moving Charlie on X, and that's where I post most often about things happening in the housing market. And that's a fun thing to have a laugh, to do something fun, to make a serious point about the effects of overvaluing. But what was new about today, about this conversation today, was that I didn't know, I'm not going to name any names, there's absolutely no point in doing that, but I didn't know that this particular person, this particular agent, who's a really well-respected agent and a really high-quality agent, had actually been through a complete nervous breakdown. I've got to be careful. They don't want to be identified, obviously. But it highlighted the problem for me, which is that this is a person who has stuck to his principles on honesty and integrity right since he first opened his business. And he said that has cost him more lost business and more money and more stress than anything else. And the number of times, he said to me, the number of times I came so close to going, it's just too hard. If I just allow myself to slip into going along with the lies a little bit, it'll be so much easier. And you've got bills to pay and staff to pay and a business to run and a life to fund, right? But he never did. But after 8-10 years, it led to a breakdown. And that reminded me of what I wanted to tell. There's this immense amount of judgment from the public, by the public, of estate agents. And there is this immense problem within estate agency of severe mental health problems. And I've tried to point out that one of the big reasons, one of the things that's very bad for anyone's mental health is knowingly lying to people. Knowingly deceiving people in order to get business, knowingly deceiving people in order to get a contract signed. And, you tell yourself doing the job, this is the job I've been told to do. This is what I've been trained to say. This is what my boss is telling me to say. I'm just doing what I'm told. Everybody else does it. It's not that bad. It's not our fault. The sellers force us to do this because the sellers all want overvaluations. But one of the things that life has taught me is that when you repeatedly and knowingly lie to people for your own personal gain, no matter how hard you're working on your mental health, You're going to feel shit about yourself on some level. And the root cause of this problem is the overvaluing. And the people who, the deliberately, the worst offenders of deliberately knowingly overvaluing in order to win business so that they can get paid, that A, keep their job and get their basic salary, B, get their listing commissions. You've got to feel bad when you sign someone up to something that you know is not in their best interests, right? You walk away from that knowing that you're part of the problem in society, not part of the solution. I am not judging anybody for doing this, okay? This is not me casting judgment or saying anyone's better than anyone else. This is the necessary evil many of us are put through by employers. That's the job. Do the job or go and get another job. That's what people get told, okay? And everyone's got bills to pay and mortgages to pay and rising rents to pay and rising cost of living bills to pay. And the jobs market is getting harder, not easier. So what are you going to do? Because the truth is, when you're honest and stick to your principles, you do get punished for it. And so when people say to me, Charlie, it's so difficult to find a really good agent. Yeah, it is. Because if you really are a truly honest agent, and you're still in business, that is an astonishingly impressive accomplishment and achievement. But the worst thing is that all the data shows that it is getting harder, not easier, for those honest agents. And it is getting easier, not harder, for the liars. And I'm talking about the lying companies, the ones who make it policy to overvalue. And, I've been speaking to a lot of agents recently about this very matter, and all of them say there is no choice. If you want to be in business as an estate agent, helping people move house, and you're honest to them, 9 times out of 10, that honesty will lose you the instruction. And so you end up with 3 grades of dishonesty, right? Best, middle, and worst, okay? And the best is where there's real reluctance to participate in overvaluing, and where an agent doesn't want to agree to an overvalue because it's going to make the job to sell a house harder. But they do want the business. It was hard enough to get invited into someone's house to talk about selling their home in the first place. And so when you're in that point of the conversation where you're really close and you can tell they like you and they do trust you and they want to go with you, but they're saying, but we need, the other agent's telling us this number. So, if you don't think you can match that number, then we don't know if we can go with you. That puts an honest agent into an incredibly difficult position. And there are honest agents who will say, look, I'm not going to compromise my principles. I understand it's your choice. This is my professional view. I hope you'll go with me, but I understand if you don't. And they will walk away. And the agent I was talking to today said exactly that. He said, my honesty talked me out of so much business, I nearly went bust. So for as long as sellers go on being taken in and successfully lied to by agents, and as long as sellers go on being over optimistic or unrealistic or for whatever the reasons are, and I'm not judging the sellers here either, right? For as long as the market conditions, including the media's conversation and narrative, and the press releases put out by the house price indices, and estate agents' endless over optimism, and all of these things that feed into sellers, so many sellers having a distortedly high impression of what their house is worth, the honest agents will continue to get punished. And the conversation I was having today is, I said, it sounds like you're resigned to the fact that that's never going to change, which is what several other agents have said. They're too big, they're too powerful, and what they do is too effective because too many sellers fall for it every time. So yeah, they said, it's not going to change. You're never going to change it. Like Daniel Dagger said yesterday, you're never going to change it. It's inevitable. And so I'm having conversations like this to try and get my head round the viability of my mission, of the Best Agent mission, to end overvaluing. Is it really a hiding to nothing? Is it really going to fail because there are just too many sellers who don't do their research and get taken in by the Dextons and the Foxters of this world and sign up onto 4, 5, 6 month contracts, don't sell their houses and miss the market and miss their move and miss their kids getting to the right school and miss their ability to get on with their life so that some toe rag could hit his targets? It's not, again, it's like, the other thing we discussed today is how many, especially younger agents, especially agents who don't have kids and families and therefore aren't as worried about the future as people with children are. You know, one of the ways that they sleep at night is because it's just a job. It's just a job. No one forces a seller to go with them. And they're not hurting anyone, are they? It's just doing a job, right? There is a pervasive attitude like that amongst lots of the younger sort of professional closing listers who just, their job is to get you on the market, nothing else. They won't have any involvement in selling your house. That's not their job. They just go from pitch to pitch to pitch to pitch, from house to house to house to house. You'll never see them again once they've signed you up, because that's not their job. They are just professionals to get you signed on the dotted line. Quick reminder, if you sign within the last 14 days and you realize you made a mistake and you're on a long sole agency contract as a seller, you can get out of it. You can cancel a contract after 14 days in. Anyway, where am I trying to go with this? The conversation I had was, look, at the moment, it feels to me like the entire market spectrum of agents is about 1/3 good, right? 2/3 mediocre and bad. Do you agree with that? And he said, yes. And I said, look, what I agree with is that there is that 1/3 of sellers who would just always be easy to lie to, always be easy to convince, always be easy to get them to sign on the dotted line, and will always buy the dream that their house is worth more than they think it is. And let's put some numbers on this, right? When you're discussing the potential sale price of a house with an agent, they're all guessing, good or bad, they're all guessing. It is pure guesswork. They do not know and they cannot know what it will go for if it gets its best price. I've lost my train of thought. Hang on. Come back. That's right. There's always a third who will fall for that trick. At the moment, 2/3 of you, 2/3 of sellers are falling for the overvaluing. But to put some numbers on it, when you're plus or minus 5% or maybe even 10% on what your, as an agent, your true belief of that property's value is, a lot of agents are going, that's an acceptable margin of tolerance of valuation wiggle room. But these other guys, like I showed yesterday, that property that had a price reduction of 25% still in the market, they are knowingly going in. In fact, I had a conversation with an agent yesterday where there was a home that they valued and another agent valued it at 30% more. In other words, they literally plucked a figure out of the air to get the deal. And what today's conversation agreed with me on was, when you are knowingly going in at 20% or more in order to secure someone's business, that's not just being a bit optimistic and hopeful and let's be positive about it. That's knowingly deceiving people. And I said, do you think if we can provide price transparency, timely house price transparency for exchange paid prices as they happen near enough, I said, do you think that we could change the number of sellers who are falling for it by raising more awareness of the fact that this happens? And he said, actually, yeah. He said, if you keep going on your channel to the public, keep spreading the word that overvaluing almost always results in selling for less in a much longer period of time if you sell at all. And remember, 57% of people don't sell at all, even when they change agents, right? Because the value is too high. he said, yeah, you could move that needle. So instead of it being 1/3 good, 2/3 bad, we could get it to 2/3 good, 1/3 bad. Well, when you're talking about 1 million, 1.5 million transactions a year, shifting a third would be massive. It would change the market. It would boost transactions. It would boost social mobility, boost liquidity in the market. And he said, yeah, actually, he said, with enough good agents getting behind the concept of transparency on pricing and on the fact that what's more important is discussing the process of how you achieve the market price for a house rather than just plucking random numbers out of the air and then getting someone to sign up. He said, yeah, it could be done. These movements are never easy to start, especially in the face of such overwhelmingly massive corporate competition. And that's why. Am I poking the bear with stuff like this? Am I inviting legal threats with stuff like this? What do you think? I'll tell you what my answer to that is. My answer is, I hope so. I almost hope that I get. I've had them because I've had them lots and lots of times before. The cease and desist, shut up or else letters, because if I do, it means it's having an impact, and it means that they're finding it harder and harder to get away with these stupid valuations and lock people into them. And let me remind you, right, that the two largest estate agency brands in London, between them, both of them, sell less on the latest figures available from an industry data company. They are selling less than 30% of what they list. Or in other words, they're not selling more than 70% of what they list. That's and even when they do sell stuff, it's slowed down by a number of reasons. They're slowing up chains, they're reducing transactions, they're extending transaction times, they're clogging up the market. But as long as it hits their bottom line, they don't care. They don't care. I know they don't care. I have actually heard the bosses of these companies in person say, don't care. It's not our problem. Our problem is our business. That's all we care about. So this is important, guys, because it massively affects people's lives when they get trapped in these situations. And I get messages from sellers constantly. I've got one outstanding at the moment. Actually, they're trapped in a long contract and they can't get out, and the agent won't sell their house, and they don't want to be with that agent anymore. It's that their property is looking stale and tired, and they need to move. And they've accepted that perhaps they were naive, maybe even optimistic, but they didn't understand the risk that they were taking. And to my knowledge, there's nobody else out there spreading awareness of the risk when you need to move, as opposed to the sellers going, oh, I'm not in any hurry, don't need to move. That's just like, that's not an issue, it's not a problem. If you guys want to just waste your own and other people's time by listing houses they're never going to sell, there's no harm in that. But there is harm for people who need to move and who get suckered into signing a bad contract. There's real harm in that. Jacek, Dextons, Foxters, Hartons. There are lots of them. And here we go. Okay, so Georgina Clark, thank you very much for sharing this with you. My house was valued by estate agents for $575,000 and I was locked in for 16 weeks. I've just had an offer after 14 weeks for $495,000. So that's $80,000 less. And I have no choice but to take it, or I don't think I'll ever sell. Georgina, I haven't got time, unfortunately. I've got to go, but I'd love to know, the story about how you chose that agent, why they convinced you that they were right. Was it that you weren't aware of overvaluing at the time? Was it that all the agents said the same value and you like these ones the most? What was the reason? Do you feel let down by those guys? And has it impacted your life? Because 14 weeks, that's 3 months. That's 3 months just to get an offer. Stephen says you could create a certificate for estate agents who do not overvalue and are part of your network so that they can include their marketing info to customers. Yeah. So part of our plan is that for an agent to qualify as being transparent, they must report their exchange prices to the Best Agent House Price Index, which is free for them to do. And in return, they get access to the index. And if they do that, they are going to get a badge from us to show that they are a transparent agent, right? And that's the only claim you can make, right? They're being transparent because they're reporting their exchange prices. You can't be more transparent than that. Now, we're not going to be publishing agent by agent results. That's not the point here. We're not trying to get to name and shame or do anything other than just make sure that there is transparent data available on prices to undermine overvaluing, because overvaluing is killing the home moving industry, the businesses in it, and movers' chances to move. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please, please, please share this with other people who are selling. If you're an agent watching this, please share this with other agents and make sure you have registered for Best Agent Day. There is a link below to register for Best Agent Day, or you can just search Best Agent Day and it'll come up straight away with a registration page. It's free to register. And if you're a branch manager or a business owner, there are lead credits as an early registration bonus that you can use against leads that come from Best Agent's property site. In the meantime, remember everybody, talk process, not prices. Choose your agent like your future depends on it, because it does. And if you're buying a home because you need one, and you found